Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. Welcome to another Sunday comic book review video. I've read all my comics that I picked up on Wednesday, and now's the time for me to tell you what I thought about them. It was a mixed bag this week. Some of the stuff that I usually really like kind of left me wanting more, or even thinking, what happened? But we'll get to that very soon. For those of you who potentially haven't seen any of my videos before, this is a review video, which means I'll be talking storylines, cliffhangers, plots, all that good stuff. So if you've not read any of these books and you don't want anything spoilt, please either stop the video, go and read that book and come back, or just fast forward the video until you see the next comic book lifted up. And we're kicking off. Usually what I do is put these in kind of an order of what I like the least and what I like the most. And the book that I kind of liked the least this week came from DC, the first part of a new storyline for The Flash, The Colour of Fear. It's issue number 23. And while kind of Joshua Williamson does pick up small touches of the Button storyline that went on between this and Batman, most of this just felt really kind of like morose and very, not dark, but just dull in a way, I guess I would say. It's that kind of age-old storyline that we have thrown in time and time again, where you have a superhero with a secret identity and they're forever struggling when or whether to tell their kind of significant others, whether it's their wives, girlfriends, husbands, siblings, friends even, about their true identity, because, you know, if they know, it could potentially put them in danger. And it's just kind of like, I've read this all before, and there's no big twist to this at all from Williamson. This is all happening while Iris has a surprise birthday for Barry Allen, the Flash. And it's just the weirdest party. They're all particularly mean to him, given that they've like come together for this surprise birthday party. They know he's just, you know, a lot of work on, a lot of things have happened in the last few issues. They know his workload and all this. They're particularly mean to him. His mind's elsewhere. And you've got the people like Singh, who's berating him for not paying attention to what he's got to say. And I'm just like, lighten up. It's a birthday party. Leave him alone. Let him enjoy it how he wants to. And then for no reason whatsoever, and if you're wanting to keep your identity secret, you know, having someone unusual that's not often in your life, at least not in this universe that has been shown predominantly, Hal Jordan turns up. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. And it's quite coincidental, because just as you have these kind of Barry almost telling Iris his identity, a big baddie turns up. Yes, it's Multiplex. He can divide his body as many times as he wants, and he's got issues which kind of get all kind of mixed up in the whole big action sequence that kind of happens afterwards, because I'm just kind of already bored by about pretty much the first half of the book. That I didn't really pay much attention to the reason for him turning up. And as Kid Flash gets Iris out of kind of harm's way, it's more of out of the frying pan into the fire, as Kid Flash gets her back home, but who's lounging about on the sofa but Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash had apparently died in the Button, but healing factor, being the Reverse Flash, not gonna die, just took a little bit longer than usual. He sat on the sofa or waiting for them, so it doesn't really matter who knows whose identity. These guys always end up in trouble. The artwork was okay, as always. We had DJ Domenico on art, and it was generally good. The action sequences is a big double spread of the Flash and the Green Lantern coming out at you. Whether it needed that, it felt a little bit kind of padded, but it looked nice nevertheless. But the Flash, yes, it really disappointed me this week. Moving on to Doctor Strange issue 21, which is all tied up with this Secret Empire event that's going on at Marvel at the moment, of which I am not reading, so I wasn't sure if I was going to understand what was going on. Fortunately, this is pretty much an encapsulated story within what is going on, and I don't think I really needed to know a great deal what was going on. We have New York City trapped inside a dark force bubble, so nothing can basically get in or out, and the issue kicks off with Doctor Strange fighting all manner of beasties, collecting bits of magical items or items that have the ability, when put together with other stuff, helps him magically, because at least Hopeless and Henriksen are using what Jason Aaron had done previously, where our Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, doesn't have that huge wealth of magic anymore, and he has to find more inventive ways with magic as well, but more inventive ways of killing them rather than just waving his hands around, saying a few words and you know, trapping these monsters. And then out of the blue, which I found quite surprising but was quite a fun element, we've got Daredevil, we've got Spider-Woman and Ben Urich in a kind of team up. They're headed off to Doctor Strange's sanctum, his home, which somehow has been transported to the top of the Chrysler building. And we have Baron Mordo running it now, one of his, I guess, prizes for helping Hydra, I guess. And they allowed him to have that, and it's now stuck on the top of the Chrysler building, and Daredevil, Spider-Woman and Ben Urich are trying to get to the top of it. They don't know where Doctor Strange is. It all goes a bit crazy, and there's a lot of action, a lot of crazy monsters, which is all very exciting. And then right at the end, where you kind of get to the point where they've not lost hope so much, but their initial kind of getting there has been stopped. They get some help, or are about to get some help, from a very unlikely source of Wilson Fisk, and it'll be interesting to see how that story develops, the uneasy alliance that we now have with, you know, the kingpin of crime, and obviously his links with Daredevil, who in this issue is actually trapped by Baron Mordo, so he's kind of been taken off the game board, so to speak. But it's all fun, it's all action-packed, there's lots of quips as Doctor Strange finally meets up with Spider-Woman and Ben Urich, and the artwork by Henriksen is very good. I'm suitably impressed, and it is very keeping with this kind of occult magic side of Marvel, so I'm happy, although I miss Chris Picciello. But what I'm more excited is for this book to move on from the Secret Empire tie-ins and all that, and see what Hopeless has in store for Doctor Strange going forward on his run, however long it may last. A fun issue, a nice start to this, and I did think there was something strange, and fortunately someone on Twitter reminded me, we've kind of skipped an issue. The last issue we had was issue 19. Issue 20 did not come out, or at least it's not come out yet, and it jumped to 21. I think this is Marvel's unfortunate or not being prepared timeline for Secret Empire and the end of people's runs and such, I do believe we are going to get that in the coming weeks. I didn't feel as though Aaron and Bocello had that big send-off and said goodbye after their great first initial run, and now I know why. Next up, we've got Saga from Image Comics, issue number 43, and this is the 25-cent special, which is kind of being pushed as a jumping on point, though I feel Saga is... to jump on Saga? Can you really? We found out in the last issue that Alana has now lost the baby that she was currently carrying. And there is this kind of weird thing that it now has to be removed, and she has to go to, hello, Abortion Town. That's the first page. The first page is usually this kind of shocking kind of panel, big first page, and you're like, oh, shocking, wow. And I'm just like, oh really? Abortion Town? And it just feels like a way for Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples to throw in a bit of politicising, not only kind of body politics, but later on gender politics with the Petrichor, who is, I would say she was transgendered, I guess. But it just felt a bit, not obvious, but it felt a bit, it wasn't subtle, let's put it that way. Hazel does give us, in her narration style, an update on the story so far, but it's so very high level overview of what's gone before that I would still think a new reader on this would be like, what the hell? Because you will have missed out on so much more of the good stuff. While there is the whole politicising of certain themes that go on in this book, in this issue, it's not without his action, which does again feel kind of forced in there as all of a sudden these dung people turn up and start attacking our group. But fortunately, Alana materialises a new power that we didn't know she had, as flames come out of her hands and makes quick work of these dung people. It was a very, very odd issue, and I just wonder anyone jumping on this is going to feel comfortable in picking up the next issue, whether it is the kind of political agendas that are going on in this particular issue, whether it's just purely from a storyline basis where it's like, what the hell is going on? I do enjoy Saga, I always have. This issue was just a bit weird for me, it just didn't sit right, and yeah, Fiona Staples' artwork is great, as it always is, but there was just something not right about this particular issue. I'm sure it will go back to normal for Saga, but no, this issue, there was something off. Next up, we've got Moon Knight issue 14, and this is Lemire, Smallwood and Bellaire's last issue of Moon Knight, and indeed the last issue of this run. And Lemire takes us back to where it all began, in the asylum that we saw right at the beginning in the first issue, where Mark Spector was incarcerated. And where all this kind of weirdness first began. And Lemire does a really good job in kind of tying up all the threads of the storylines that have gone before, as he finally faces Khonshu for maybe the last time, but with a little help from his friends. And when I say friends, I mean his split personalities. And it was just a great finish, kind of finale to the book, though Lemire does have a kind of get out clause, I guess, for whichever creative team picks this up in the near future, because I do hope that Moon Knight does come back, because it's a great character, in the sense that it's even Mark Spector says right at the very end of this issue, you know, he's still not sure if any of this is real. Is this still a ploy by Khonshu to pull his strings and move him around the playground of his mind even more so? But like I said, everything gets wrapped up. We get the end of the kind of origin story, if you weren't familiar with it, of Mark Spector becoming Moon Knight. And it's just been a great job from start to finish. Smallwood and Belair have really given us some great art, great colouring on the book, helped by various other artists along the way, and it's just felt a very satisfying ending to this particular run. And if you didn't manage to pick up Moon Knight, I'm sure this is being collected in trades. I would say go out, pick it up. It's a really great kind of under the radar Marvel book that probably doesn't get as much attention as the big name books, but really should, because it's got some great talent on it, great storylines and great looking pages inside. Now, Monstrous from Image Comics, issue number 12. And as much as I love this title, this particular issue, it was tough to keep up with Takeda's high fantasy tale, and there was kind of a number of problems here. There was very dark layouts, a lot of very chaotic action going on, and basically the story and the art clashed, and it just became a little overwhelming at times. Still, Takeda offers a story that is literally a breakneck speed throughout, but at the same time she manages to throw in some kind of flashbacks from the youth of Micah, involving her mother and the relationships they have. There are kind of clues and scenes to storylines that perhaps will come in the future, as this book is taking quite a hiatus. It's not coming back until the autumn, but this is probably an issue that will take at least a couple of rereads to figure out exactly what's going on, as they're kind of throwing in a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts, the whole old gods and gods killing each other and traitorous backstabbing and full of kind of agendas for different people. And right in the middle of this is Micah dealing with this kind of demon that's part of her, I would say possessed, or I'm not quite sure where that kind of lands. But I think this storyline that's gone on, this storyline that's been on this Island of Bones, is definitely one that I'm going to have to go back to and read from the start to pick up all the different pieces and the parts of the story to really grasp what actually was going on. I mean, the artwork by Son of Takeda is just fantastic. Marjorie Liu has done a great job with the storyline. But just this finale was just very, very overwhelming and just a little bit too much. It was almost like she was trying to fit as much as she could in this one issue, because she knew that it was taking a hiatus, so everything to a certain extent had to be wrapped up. So a lot of action, a lot of storytelling had to be squeezed into one issue, which for this was to its detriment, unfortunately. But it's been a great book up until now. I'm sure when they come back in the autumn it will pick up, and Marjorie and Son of Takeda will, you know, have had a rest, I guess, come back fresh with the next instalment of Monstrous. As I said, I do love this book, just this issue was off. Now, Image brought out a new anthology series of sorts this week from Dustin Weaver called Backless. A very kind of sci-fi storytelling here. There are kind of 3 stories, though the middle one is barely a story, to be fair. We begin with the story called Mushroom Bodies, which I think is very much a done in one, kind of body horror story where we meet this young man who may or may not be a bug. He thinks he's human, but he's actually a bug, or is he a bug, or is he a bug but actually human? One or the other. It's all very crazy. It's all very kind of creepy. It's almost like a Twilight Zone episode. There's a kind of like almost a kind of twist at the end of it, but it looks nice. It's the setting, the mood, the atmosphere. It is very kind of chilling in parts. You have this moment where he's sat with his girlfriend on the sofa, and one minute they're kind of like fully human, and then the next they are half human, half bug, and it's just very creepy but enjoyable nonetheless. Now the second kind of non-story is what I call it, is Sagittarius A, which was basically a brief 2-pager with an extra 2-page splash of a kind of star constellation black hole but with colour in it. I don't know what that was really about, apart from a son and a father's relationship before the son goes off to fight in some war. It was brief, not necessarily to the point, but it just kind of felt stuck in there, and there wasn't really much to it to grab hold of and to either fixate on a character or, you know, attach yourself to them, so to speak. The final story, which is the longest and seems to be a continuing storyline, is Amnesia Cycle. We kind of focus on a female fighter pilot from the future called Tara, who, while out on some sort of, I don't know, it's a mission or a flight program, she finds an alien being that comes literally crashing from the sky. And while she takes her back to her home base, everyone else is all a bit edgy about her and wants to take her for investigating. But for some reason, Tara is compelled to help her and rescue her and help her escape her own home base. So there's a big chase scene, lots of action going on about it. The story at the moment is very kind of up in the air about what it actually is or what direction it's going into. But I had fun with it. It's that kind of sci-fi genre that I love. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing what Weaver is going to bring with the next issue, whether he's going to stick to maybe fleshing out Sagittarius A bit more. Amnesia Cycle definitely is to be continued, so hopefully we'll be given a little bit more information about that. From the back matter, Dustin Weaver does talk about these issues, and it does seem to be very much almost a labour of love. These are ideas he's had for some time and has only just now got round to telling them, or had the opportunity to. And I do wonder if he does actually know the direction that these books are taking, or is he just going to be making it up as he goes along. I don't know if this is a monthly series or if it's coming out every other month or quarterly or what, but I'm looking forward to the next issue. I'll definitely pick it up and see what stories Weaver has next to tell us, and then decide next whether this is worth the $5.99 price tag to be paid monthly, if it is that kind of title. My top 3 books start with Rick Remender's Black Science, issue number 30, and Remender certainly ramps up the action with this issue 210 and above, before it takes a short hiatus, apparently, as Image books tend to do. But he throws everything in but the kitchen sink with this issue, as action-packed does not really do it justice. We have got the body-jumping space ghosts, we've got the death cult millipedes, the Scourge, we've got the army boundless, which seems to be people from different dimensions all kind of coalescing and coming into this one particular dimension world. And then, as if they weren't enough, we see Mr. Block, who is this kind of big businessman who's using the pillar for nefarious means, attempting to escape all this madness, but out comes Harlog the Defiler, which sounds absolutely horrific, but when you look at it, it's like a kind of purpley pink cuddly teddy bear, but this pink cuddly teddy bear has claws and ensures that Mr. Block gets his comeuppance and doesn't get to escape. Wow, the action just does not let up from this issue, and at the end of it you are left somewhat breathless, but my God, it was satisfying. As always, Matteo Scalera does such a fantastic job with the artwork. It is just beyond good. He just nails it every time, and with Moreno Dicinio doing the art doing the colours on this, everything is just in your face. It's bright, it's impactful. The pacing of the book, the action sequences, it all just feels almost spot on, and I just can't get enough of this, and it's a shame that we're going to have to wait a while for the next issue, but where Remender's going to take us next with the next issue, I have no idea, but I am going to be waiting with bated breath. Penultimate issue of the week, and just missing out on pick of the week, is Kill or Be Killed, issue number 9, the 4 Eisner Award nominated title from Brubaker, Phillips and Breitweiser, and it just really is so good and deserved these nominations and should be winning a whole heap of them, because especially in this issue, and certainly in past issues as well, you do get, despite the violence within this book, Kill or Be Killed really does move at a very methodical pace. This issue, despite everything that goes on, seems to be very steadily telling the story. It's not just like bang, 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 action, action, action. And Brubaker really kind of raises the bar on his storytelling as he manages to not only kind of push the story forward in what's going on in present time, but ensures the reader is filled in on how we got to this point. We have him retelling how the Russian mob was able to set this trap for Dylan, how they kind of found out about his drug dealer friend, and the connections between them, and I guess through a kind of fortunate circumstance with Dylan ringing up his drug dealer for some more drugs, the way they all kind of come together. Dylan, there's some really good tension building scenes in here, not least Dylan's kind of unburdening of his secret to this Russian mob mafia member, helping his friend, the drug dealer, hopefully to survive after he accidentally shoots him, but this basically causes even more trouble for Dylan, and we'll see that being picked up, I'm sure, in future storylines. Brubaker is certainly looking not only forwards but also backwards, and really creating this storyline so well, and nothing seems forgotten or unused and doesn't seem out of place. He really does, you know, cross all the T's, dots all the I's, so to speak. Again, this is another issue, and I guess with it being Image Comics and they don't have that kind of DC Marvel heads of Disney or Warner Brothers or whatever to kind of steady their kind of political leanings. But again, we get the kind of politicising of medical care at the start of this issue, and Brubaker gets the opportunity to explain the ridiculousness and the kind of hand-in-hand dealings of health insurance companies and drugs companies. And while it does add that kind of element of authenticity about not only that political agenda that Brubaker wants to push forward, but also it is a sign of the times that this book is meant to be in. I just don't know whether I want that in my comic books. You know, I read comic books to escape all this awfulness that is going on in the world. I know what is occurring, and you know, all that kind of real life stuff. Comic books are there for me to escape from all that, and while I don't mind them being set in a real life world environment, let's keep that political agenda out of it. That's just my personal view. People might enjoy that or want that. Personally, for me, I would rather keep to the story in hand. But still, Kill Be Killed, fantastic book. Once again, this team just raised the bar on their storytelling, their art, the colouring, everything. Again, I will say, very deserved nominations for this book. I hope they win everything that they're nominated for. So you may find my pick of the week as somewhat of a surprise, but quite honestly, I had the most fun with this. It is the Wonder Woman annual. 4 stories, which usually you're a bit wary of. One of them is kind of like your top tier artists, and then you get a few maybe mediocre or one surprising storyline. But all 4 of these stories were incredibly enjoyable. They did what I think they were meant to do, and as stories each and of themselves, they were a start, a middle and an end. They were encapsulated in just those 5 or 6 pages. They didn't feel too short. They didn't feel as though, oh, it could have had a few more pages to explain this or that. But what I felt with this is it was great as, I guess, as a new reader friendly almost. This certainly pushes what Wonder Woman is about, her character, where her place is in this new DC Rebirth universe. The first story is by regular writer Josh Williamson, and it is the meeting of the Trinity. Yes, the first meeting between Wonder Woman, Batman and Superman. And Josh Williamson gets the characters down so well, given that this, you know, has happened years past. But he has the characteristics of Batman and Superman down. Their kind of uneasy alliance, you know, they are heroes both on the same side, but they come at it at so different perspectives. And Wonder Woman coming to them as she sees them spying on her this story takes place just after the terrorism attack in the shopping mall, where she takes them all down without killing them, saves Steve, and she's known to the world now. It was just a great, nice little encapsulated story about how the 3 meet up, and I really, really appreciated that kind of context for the whole of the DC Rebirth reboot, so to speak. The second story really showed that Wonder Woman is a force for justice, and it's justice for all, no matter what their background. As we have this short story about King Shark, who is normally kind of villainous in nature, and he is being actually framed for a crime he did not commit. And Wonder Woman basically comes to his rescue to, one, not only ensure that he isn't executed without a proper trial, but to allow him to have that trial under a fair basis within a kind of lawful context that would be meaningful to King Shark as she drops him off with Aquaman to face crimes that he has committed in the past. The third story shows Wonder Woman and her, I guess, her reticence to kill, but kill when it is absolutely necessary or needed, regardless of the reason, as we have her kind of sparring with a fellow warrior who is cursed, and the curse is that his body takes on a kind of demonic, almost kind of werewolf type character, and the curse cannot be removed, and he wants Wonder Woman to kill him, and so he can die, I guess, a warrior's death rather than be this monster. And Wonder Woman reluctantly has to put him down. Let's put it, he has to put him down, and that is the death of that character. The last one is a kind of a fun storyline in that it kind of relates to a kind of, I guess, a mythical creature. It's kind of a Godzilla, kaiju kind of character. And it shows Wonder Woman's ability to see kind of beyond the obvious. We have this kind of big monster, Godzilla type character heading towards a big populated city, and of course Argus, the military team, are coming to destroy him, kill him, shoot him down before he reaches the coast. But unknown to them, and what Wonder Woman finds out, is that this monster is just lonely, born on some bleak landscape all alone, has no friends, doesn't know where he fits in the world, so just basically lets his feet do the walking, and the walking ended up at the coastline of a big city, kind of metropolis type place. But Wonder Woman sees through this with the use of her lasso, the perfect they call it, and finds out his story and takes him to somewhere where he can fit in, where he has friends of other monsters and he can play fetch all day. And Wonder Woman promises she'll go and visit him at least once a month, or if he needs her, she'll be there sooner. It was just, the whole package was really well done. All four stories had very distinct art styles. A lot of female input into this book, with 3 of the 4 stories being drawn by female artists, with Nicola Scott, Claire Rowe and Stephanie Hands. The last story drawn by David LaFuente. But just a great package, and if you're new to Wonder Woman, this is a great starting point. This is a jumping on point. You get to learn so much about Wonder Woman and her character and what she stands up for and what she believes in. And I really, really enjoyed it. So that's why it was my pick of the week. And they're my books for this week. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my reviews of the books that I picked up this week. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the books. Always glad to hear from you all. If you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button and you won't miss out on any future videos. And give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it too. Until next time, I will see you very soon. Bye bye.